conservatives are moving forward on their nationwide agenda to silence us oppressed people and end discussions on race, gender identity, and sexual orientation. And Florida's Republican Governor Ron DeSantis is spearheading it all. One bill in Florida that was already waiting for DeSantis' signature, being called the Don't Say Gay bill, because it bans discussions of gender and sexuality issues with younger students. And then another bill was just passed in Florida Senate on Thursday that would prohibit Florida's public schools and private businesses from making people feel, quote, guilt, anguish, or other forms of psychological distress based upon their race, sex, or national origins. Basically, we're talking about basically, if you say something that makes straight white men uncomfortable, you're banned from talking about it in schools or at work.
Mhm.
Um,
Uh,
and there are
some straight white women
Disgusting.
too. Some straight white women too.
fair
True.
enough. And there are a
True
number of
shit.
similar bills being
Oh,
introduced in
sorry.
Republican-led states.
Ellen.
Oh, she done messed up the PG show. All right, so my first
Oh.
question, is this a violation of the First Amendment freedom of speech? And are the Republicans going to get away with this? Ellen.
I think it's absolutely a violation of free speech, but I think it's just harmful to children and in a misunderstanding of what it's like. At least in respect to the Don't Say Gay bill, I think it's a complete misunderstanding of what it means to be a gay child in school. Um, I wasn't taught about gay people in school, and I ended up being gay. So, like, you don't need some sort of indoctrination process. But if that had been talked about, if the only because the only growing up in the 2000s, the only context of the word gay in school was as an insult because it wasn't brought up by teachers as something that was normal. That was your only understanding of it. So that's kind of I I don't know what they think is being told in schools now about gay people. I don't know, I haven't been in elementary school for a while, but like I don't
Oh,
know
I thought
what
you were the
damage
same
can be
age
done.
as Michael Michelle. What? I thought you were the
You know
same
what?
age
You're
as
right.
Michael Michelle.
You're right. You're right. You're right.
It's
Yeah, yeah,
10.
yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
10.
My peer. She's a few months older than me, but what's the difference? Yeah, and I think Republican. I think they're going to get away with it. I think this will have quite a bit of traction.
All right, so basically
Really,
you're saying that
yeah,
we won't be able to talk about black people and we won't be able to talk about we won't be able to talk about being gay. RB?
yeah.
Yeah, it's
Robbie,
I
are they
also
doing
believe
this
that
in
this is
Canada? Are they
no,
doing this in
Yeah.
no.
Canada, Robbie?
What's the deal?
What we've done is we've started teaching about residential schools and bringing our ugly history out into the light so that we can learn from it and progress as a society together. Um, this
Hmm.
is just another feelings over facts Republican tactic to whitewash America. Uh, DeSantis just gives middle-aged white guys a really bad name. I don't like this. But yeah, I mean, really, it's anything that makes them feel uncomfortable or icky or challenges their worldview needs to be pushed out of the social discourse. And that's absolutely horrible. It's destructive to people who are already marginalized in our society. And yeah, it is a free speech violation. And like Ellen, I fear that they're going to be able to get some traction on this because there's a lot of xenophobia out there.
Liz?
So the actual bill, right? It presumably bans public school districts from teaching about sexual orientation or gender identity in their
Indeed.
teaching using the word gay or homosexual or transgender, all of that in kindergarten through third
Third
grade,
grade. Mhm.
right?
Yep.
That was the intent of the proposed bill. And like
Specifically
Ellen
that bill.
said, specifically that bill. And like Ellen said,
Mhm.
again, she outed all of us as being ancient dinosaurs. So we were in elementary school long
That's
before
Ellen.
Ellen was. But
Mhm.
I grew up in a house with a gay brother. right?
Mhm.
I don't ever recall even saying the word gay in our house, let alone being taught about it in school. Now, fast forward to,
So you're
Gen
saying this is
Z
a
right now.
non-issue.
It's fear mongering. It's a non-issue. There's nobody
Yep.
teaching these things. Now,
Yeah.
counselors and teachers may be advising students on how to be tolerant, how to be accepting, how not to use hate speech, how not to
Yeah.
bully, but no one is teaching a homosexual gay agenda in school.
I don't know
And
what that
that's what this bill is suggesting and making people fear. And I think it's I mean, obviously it's Florida, so what do we expect from Florida? Um, but
Mhm.
I think that it's we're enhancing the public, or we are instigating the public to be more homophobic with an issue that
Yep.
wasn't there to begin with. But I don't think it necessarily qualifies as a violation of free speech because they could honestly say it falls under the same guise of separation of church and state, where you can have, you know, teachers who aren't allowed to teach about a particular religion. Like there's a lot of
Mm.
nuances in this, which is why I
Mhm.
think the governor felt so emboldened by even, putting this forth.
Yeah.
Um,
I
but
think it's like a
it's very dangerous. It's
Mhm.
very offensive, right? Because again, we talked about this yesterday in the meeting. It's like let's just pray the gay away. Let's just pretend
Yeah.
it's not there.
Yeah.
Never talk about it. And that's not how life works. Like there are
No.
gay people in this world.
This is like you said, it's a
Okay.
non-issue. It's a non-issue, right? So when I see it as is this is like a gateway law. It's something that
Mhm.
obviously no one wants children to be taught about sexual anything from grades K through 3, right? Nobody
Yeah.
wants that. Nobody's it's saying that. So it's acceptable. It's an acceptable law because obviously this is something nobody really wants. We're not going out having our children our teachers teaching these concepts. That's not something we want. So it's acceptable, right? So people will vote for it and say, "Yeah, that's what we want." But the fact is, like you say, it's a non-issue, but it becomes a bigger issue because we know that it's an attempt, it's the beginning attempts to silence people, right? So it's an acceptable law
Mhm.
in everyone's mind, which they know they can get past, but then it's starting to change people. It's a progressive process. So you start with
Mhm.
this, then
Mhm.
you say, okay, well, we don't want it from grades 3 through 12, and then we don't want it, and then we don't want it in the workplace. Now we have the law where you
Mhm.
can't talk about race in the workplace. I mean, that's
Well, we
Mhm.
haven't even
ridiculous.
tapped into the race portion of it yet, but just still
Right.
focusing on
It's-
the gender and the sexual orientation portion of it. Again, they are identifying all of this as it relates to the act of having sex and who you are having sex with. This has nothing to
Yes,
do
thank
with
you.
This is
whether
about
or
gender
not,
identity. Right.
you know, it has nothing to do with whether or not I'm attracted to a male or a female, or whether, two gay people are have a family and they are raising children. It's all about what's happening in the bedroom, on the couch, in the car, whatever.
What were you trying to
And
say, Ellen?
let me
No,
just keep
I'm
this in.
agreeing. Yeah.
It's hypocritical because from kindergarten through third grade, we are often given images of a heterosexual family, the nuclear
Yes.
family, what that's supposed to be. And no one is, drawing a flag, throwing darts at that. But then they're suggesting that there cannot be the same success in a homosexual family where you have two gay parents because they are
Mhm.
having sex with one another. And that's my main problem is it is
Okay.
enforcing this idea that homosexuality is just about the act of sex.
All right. Let me
And
get this
that's
comment
not
in.
what's happening.
So Gianni
Yep.
says, I'm trying to remember when talking about being gay was even ever discussed in school
Thank
besides
you.
peers.
Thank you.
Jacqueline Robinson, this
Yeah.
infuriates me. So basically, we're supposed to accept the Daughters of Confederacy's version of history. The agenda clearly in reaction to the progress Blacks and other persons of color are making. Persons don't just rely on schools to teach your children their history. Jose says, sad, sad world. Mike Wolf says, I'm not a lawyer, but having read the text of the bill, it looks like the bill applies to any type of relationship or gender identity, including straight and cis. I'd like to see some Florida families suing for having concepts of family similar to what you were just saying, Liz.
Yeah.
Family taught. For example, Bobby and Susie live with their mommy and daddy. Daddy works and mommy cooks. Jeanette Brown, I think being gay is becoming much more widely accepted as things that are talked about openly are. Hence the bans. But the genie's out of the bottle. Too many people are woke. Johnny says, I hate politics. Daria Winter, even the governor's televised vicious on stage response to Black youths wearing masks was indicative of this destructive attitude toward
That was
his
disgusting.
view. Yeah, basically, just for our listeners, what happened was Ron DeSantis had some type of I don't know, conference or
Speaking
whatever,
engagement.
speaking engagement, and he walked up to the stage where children were wearing masks, and he berated them, saying, "It's not a real thing. Take off your mask. Why are you
Take them
wearing
off.
masks?" Yeah.
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 Ade Owodolu says, Death Santis is doing what he does. Vote him out of there. You know, I've always said that DeSantis was actually one of the candidates that's actually worse than Trump. And the reason is because, Trump is doing it because he's narcissistic. He's just himself. This guy, DeSantis, is just an evil guy. So
Yeah, I agree.
if DeSantis gets into office, we got some issues.
Gets into what office?
Oh, he's going to run for president.
President.
Yeah,
He's
they're
running for
weaning him.
president in 2024.
He's running for president.
No, I'm not saying he's not going to run. I'm saying he's not going to win. That's what I'm
I am not so sure.
I don't know.
Nah.
I am
Fingers
not so
crossed.
sure. He
Nah,
is.
y'all
He
need to
is
put.
there.
I don't know,
I am
man.
not so sure.
Listen, the
'Cause-
voting public of 2022, and I know, the next election isn't until 2024, but the voting public of today isn't even what it was 2 years ago. There are a lot of emboldened people on the more liberal side, on the more progressive side, who feel comfortable in making their voice known. So
Right.
I don't think, like, he could run, sure. I don't think he's gonna run for president. Even if you
I
think
am not
about
so
the
certain.
members, even if you think about the members of the LGBTQ community who are gonna be like, hell no,
Trump tapped
hell
into
no,
something,
hell no.
I mean,
and
we
DeSantis
will be,
is
but
galvanizing it. That's what.
But it's not. We're not living in the same age as we were when Trump first ran for president.
I
It's
think. I
From a
think.
different.
I
Canadian
feel like we
think
are.
the
perspective,
liberals that
there's
you're.
no
Go ahead.
Canadians went, there's no way. There's no way that Trump can get in. There's no way. And I
Yeah.
fear that DeSantis is the same type of scenario.
I think the liberals
I
that you
think he's.
think are going to step up have become complacent. That's what I think.
But but no. But I think
Especially
people
with
like
Biden.
Stacey
Especially
Abrams.
the choice
I think
being
that people.
Biden.
I think that people like Stacey. The choice may not be Biden. Biden
I
could be
hope
dead in
not.
2 years.
Dang.
But we
Okay.
have a lot of.
He might be
Listen, he's
dead.
old. But we have a lot of grassroots people who are progressive, who are empowering people to vote. And so, no, DeSantis, I'm not saying that a Republican won't win. I'm saying it won't be DeSantis.
I'm not so certain.
I
I
hope
think
you're right.
DeSantis
I
will be
hope
the
you're
more
right.
popular Republican candidate.
Listen,
We
I
got
live
to
in DC. I'll get up out of this apartment for that. I'll
we
get
got
up
to
out of
move
this
on.
apartment
We
for
can
that.
talk more about it if we want to talk about some more in the after show. But is this truth, lies, or shenanigans? Now this you could
Okay, I am so
Man.
sorry. I am so sorry, Michael Michelle.
Yeah.
on her episode, you're really gonna bring out homo,
I think
homophobic
No.
BS, and
Yeah.
Lizzie has it's all BS. I won't
It
say it.
is.
I got shenanigans. Robbie's got no.
I haven't cursed yet.
No.
I
Oh,
haven't
look what
cursed
I have on the
yet.
other side.
Yes, racist BS. Which it is. It's all of that. It's all of that.
It
Yeah.
is.
All
Oh,
nonsense.
so we didn't really talk about the racist side, so we
We
can
can
talk
get
about
into
that
it
in
in
the
the after
after
show.
show.
We can get to the race,
In the after show.
the racism, the
We gonna
racist.
blow you up, Morgan Freeman. We gonna blow you up.
Yeah, because you gotta talk about Morgan Freeman. Okay.